Hello and welcome to round 16 of Grand Prix Boston Worcester, the last round. We have quite the feature match for you here. A win here will lock either player up for top 8. On the left-hand side of your screen, we've got Cedric Phillips facing off against Dan Jordan on the right-hand side of your screen. The winner of this match will be in the top 8 of this Grand Prix. This is the last round of Swiss. Cedric Phillips, we saw last round. I'm of course, Ben Swartz in the booth here with Ray Punsalon.
Hello, everyone.
We saw the last game of last round, Cedric Phillips crushing Shaheen Sorani with his white-green aggressive deck. Dan Jordan sporting on a very, very aggressive black-red deck with 4 Mog Flunkies, 4 copies of Mog Flunkies, and 4 copies of Reckless Brute. A lot of 3-power guys. You see the two chatting. The round technically hasn't started yet, so just in a moment when the head judge calls for the beginning of the round,
Yeah, I guess everyone else is filling paperwork. These two are just jabbing back and forth. I bet you guys could hear it out there. Players talking a little bit. I wonder if they shared information or rather.
They did not. I know that Cedric doesn't like to play that way. On Magic Online, you have the ability to watch replays. Cedric refuses to watch replays. It's the same thing here. He wasn't trying to scout for his deck. If he can't win a fair fight, he doesn't want to win at all. Same with Dan Jordan. So,
yeah, we have the deck list, or at least Dan's deck in front of us. Couldn't round up Cedric's, but see, Dan left Torch Fiend in the board. See, what else did he leave? And he has a Furnace Welf, Goblin Arsonist. He's playing 2 Kindled Furies. Blood Hunter back, Crippling Blight. There's a Vampire Nighthawk we mentioned earlier. No equipment on his end. There's Cedric. You can see his pink phone right there.
He's sending a tweet out to all of his followers.
He's probably saying, watch me on GG's Live right now.
And that's what all of you viewers should be saying right now. Tweet, say, I'm watching at GG's Live, watching this awesome match between Cedric Phillips and Dan Jordan. You should be too. Hashtag GP Boston.
Yeah, this event has been ran really well considering how large the event was.
Yeah, it was the second largest Grand Prix in North America.
How large was the first one? Did you catch that?
1,900 players, just under 2,000. That was Grand Prix Washington, D.C.
And that was the standard format, right?
Yep.
So
that one was won by none other than that year's Player of the Year, Brad Nelson. And in the finals, he defeated current Player of the Year, Owen Turnwald. Looks like
Cedric's finishing up a tweet. He's like, hold on. Hold on.
Before we can start, he has to tweet, playing for top 8 on camera against Dan Jordan at GP Boston.
Hashtag team stream team. Probably.
Hashtag calling for my one time. Okay, so Dan Jordan starts things off with a turn 1 Goblin Arsonist, turn 1 Arbor Elf for Cedric Phillips, turn 2 Mog Funkies for Dan Jordan.
One of his 4 Mog Funkies.
Looks like Cedric has a Crusader of Odric he's going to cast on too.
Dan Jordan also has Reckless Brutes in his deck. Doesn't have it here to accompany the Arsonist and the Flunkies attacking, though he has a second of his 4 Mog Flunkies.
Dan Jordan gets in for 4 there, dropping Cedric down to 15 life. Let's see what Cedric has. Looks like he's got an O-ring. No reason to use that O-ring hastily, but maybe that's what he's going to do. Yep, Oblivion Ring on the Mog Funkies, and attack in for 3. Dan falls to 12 life.
Or 17 life.
Or 17 life. Jeez.
Subtracting from the wrong side.
11.
Cedric will fall down to 11 after this attack. Let's see. Dan Jordan's going to play
Crimson Muckwader.
3-2 Regenerator.
That will drop Cedric down to 11, Dan Jordan's attack. And Cedric will pay 5 and cast Sentinel Spider. That will hold off the beats for a little while from that Mog Funkies. Crimson Muckwader might get in along with the Arsonist. Probably not, though. Depends on whether or not Cedric wants to get rid of his Arbor Elf because of the Goblin Arsonist. If the Goblin Arsonist gets sent in, Cedric can block it, but his Arbor Elf will likely die. And depends if Dan wants to do that either. So Dan thinking over his options here.
The problem with his 3-power deck, the moment Cedric starts raining down the 4 toughness guys, becomes tough times for him. He has a Sentinel Spider. He has the Prize Elephant. The Crusader of Aldrich will get out of hand, as well as Cedric adds to his board. And without too many tricks, we did mention he has a couple Kindled Furies. Other than that, there's not too many ways to fight through.
Looks like Dan's going to send in the team after contemplating for a little while. Let's see how Cedric wants to block.
Yeah, if Dan has one of his Kindled Furies, this could be a bad turn for him here. I mean, if Dan has Kindled Furies, it'll be a bad turn for Cedric.
Cedric taking his time. I mean, with top 8 on the line, you don't want to make any mistakes.
I don't believe he can't just take it. That's for sure.
Taking 7, putting him to 4. Yeah, that does not seem good. He definitely wants to block that Sentinel Spider. Does he want to block with his Crusader Vodric? Looks like Cedric double checking, making sure he knows what all the cards do.
Cedric, if he could put his Sentinel Spider in front of the Mog Flunkies, but if he has Kindled Fury, we'll just eat up the Spider for free. Hit Cedric down to 7.
Looks like Cedric's going to block Sentinel Spider and Mog Flunkies and Crusader Vodric on the Goblin Arsonist. Goblin Arsonist will take out the Sentinel Spider. Cedric will take 3 and fall to 8 life.
Yeah, sorry.
Sentinel Spider will bite the dust. Does Dan have a post-combat play? It looks like another Mog Flunkies. Nope. Blood Hunter Bats.
Yeah, so interesting. Cedric went ahead and lost his Sentinel Spider there by blocking the Arsonist. But now his life is at 6. Maybe he felt a little safer, or would have been at 8, then went down to 6 after the Blood Hunter Bat.
Cedric cast Elvish Visionary and drew a Knight of Glory off of it.
3 mana. We're looking at
Yeva's Force Mage. Pumping the Crusader Vodric. That will attack in for 4/6. Along with the Arbor Elf for 7 damage.
Lucky we're friends.
That was
You're
close.
lucky we're friends.
That was close.
I would snap.
That would have been
I would
so
snap
bad.
I saw you thinking. I was gonna be like,
Yeah, that was close. That was close.
6, it looks like.
Go.
Dan will take, fall to 13 life.
That was close. That's all.
Yeah, close. Yeah, that's what it was.
Dan draws another land with a Mog Flunkies in hand, along with his 2/2 flying Blood Hunter Bats and his Crimson Muckwader.
Assume that Cedric's going to instantly chump with his Elvish Visionary.
Yep, that's what he does. Cedric will fall to 4 life. And another Mog Flunkies for Dan.
Mog Flunkies can't attack.
Or block right now.
Yeah, Cedric's just racing the bats, basically. Does he have any way to grow his Crusader this turn?
I'm not sure. I didn't get a good look at his hand.
I think I would have waited to kill you.
Do we see a... the
Knight of Glory is in Cedric's hand.
Knight of Glory is in there.
Oh boy, we got a game. You turned the hat around.
Let's look at his best course of action. Cedric has the... He's probably going to try to find a way to get in with Crusaders, and that'll be the maximum amount of damage. But even so, he has to deal with the Muckwader and Mog Flunkies next turn.
Sure.
Them coming in, he could just chump block them, but then Crusader won't necessarily be enough to finish off Dan, and he'll be sitting at 2 life and losing instantly to the Blood Hunter Bat the next turn.
Cedric doing the math. Okay, how can I deal 13 damage in 2 turns? Play to my outs, not die to a crackback.
Where's my Sentinel Spider? It would be great right now.
I mean, Dan's pretty much playing with all of his cards on the table. I believe the last card in his hand is a Swamp. So, playing off the top of his deck. Okay, he'll cast Knight of Glory before combat. That will give 4 creatures on the board. Make Crusader Vodric a 4/4. Now, if Cedric wants to attack, he can attack for 6 if he attacks with his Yevas Force Mage and the Crusader, or attack for 5 if he just attacks with the Crusader. He could also attack with Crusader, Arbor Elf, and Yevas Force Mage. That would be 7.
So Crusader, Arbor Elf, and the Force Mage, but then he wouldn't do that because then he is dead on attack.
That's true. Likely attacks either just attacking with the Crusader or attacking with the Crusader and the Force Mage. But it looks like he's first going to cast Angelic Benediction. Okay.
It's getting more interesting.
Yeah. Now likely he just wants to attack with the Crusader, since he played that pre-combat.
But if he attacks with Crusader, let's see, just Crusader, hit him for 6, Dan drops a 7. It'll be short. Damage next turn.
Maybe he'll just attack with the Yevas Force Mage? Can that be right? Yeah.
Yevas Force Mage coming for 4.
You're 9. Yep. Go.
They'll
Drops Dan to 9.
Yeah, and it gives Cedric a 4/4 blocker to block the Mog Funkies in
I
this
can't
turn.
be alive. You attack so fast.
Yeah, the next turn, if Dan doesn't have another blocker, he could tap down the Waiter and come
Sure.
through unblocked.
Dan drew another land for this turn, so he's on empty. Now Cedric attacks with all of his guys.
Well, then draw and find out.
Cedric find a way here. Is Cedric... Was that a land in Cedric?
I
That drew?
didn't
You
get a
told
good
me
look.
to do that.
He looked at it
You told me
quickly.
to draw the card. Just do what you told me to do, okay?
Attacking with all his guys won't do it, I don't think. 4/5. He just has to attack with the Crusader of Odric, but that will only be 6 damage. Yep, tapping the Crimson Muckwaiter.
6 to you.
Yes.
Figuring it out.
That'll be 6, dropping Dan down to 3.
Oh, and there's a Prey Upon.
Prey Upon, wow.
Oh, so Cedric has a Prey Upon, could take care of the bats?
Yep, give him another turn.
Oh, that was a great card for Cedric.
Yeah, wow.
That is exactly what he was looking for to stay in this game. So right now, he's going to hit Dan Jordan. That was for 6. Should bring Dan to 3. Then he'll prey upon the bats. He has to prey upon the bats, right?
Yeah, he
There's
can't
like
be
no
a flyer.
question. Yeah, there's no question about that.
But he's trying to figure out with which creature to prey upon it, because if he preys upon with the Crusader, then...
Okay.
Okay, so he preys... Wow, Searing Spear off the top for Dan Jordan.
Oh! And Cedric tosses the cards. Hey, Cedric peeled the prey upon, keep the game going. Dan Jordan peels the Searing Spear and take Cedric down.
You're right, I got lucky.
So Dan Jordan will take the lead here, 1-0.
Wow.
All those players so close. The victory was.
I can actually hear them screaming all the way from over here.
With Dan Jordan getting the upper hand. If you're just joining us, this is round 16 of Grand Prix Boston. In the booth is myself, Ray Punzalon, along with Ben Swartz. Cedric just lost an exciting game 1 there with Dan Jordan peeling a Searing Spear to finish off Cedric after Cedric peeled a Prey Upon to prevent dying from the flyer that Cedric had no other answer to.
Very fine. Yes, the card was
Pretty exciting match there. Cedric
It wasn't a murder.
stood up a little bit to get a little breather now after that loss. Going through his sideboard, seeing if there's anything that could help him.
He pulled one card really quickly, or 2 cards really quickly to the front. Wow, I was on the edge of my seat for that game.
I wanted that one so bad.
I thought
So
that
hard to
Cedric
beat
had
when
locked
you
it up
draw
with that
one,
top
it's
deck prey
so
upon,
bad.
but
Yeah. pretty tough to beat me.
Yeah, Cedric took a quick peek and slammed it down, so we never got to see what he was hiding there.
Yeah.
I did not do it.
Both of them look pretty happy.
I mean,
Even
Dan's
though-
got to be much
Yeah.
happier than Cedric. Cedric thought he had that game.
Cedric bringing in a Guardian,
Guardians of Akrasa, yep.
the 4 toughness. He knows will be great in this matchup.
He didn't see any of the 4 reckless brutes from Dan's deck, so.
I think was it 2 Guardian of we don't have his list, so it looks like it's 2 Guardian of Acrosses that Cedric's gonna bring in.
Would have
Getting
got
rid
the
of the,
Angelic,
yeah.
an addiction, and looks like a Yev's Force Mage.
Yeah, you don't deserve to kill on me.
Angelic benediction there was pretty nice. It helped prevent the Mog Flunkies from blocking, even though there was 2 blockers. Just got rid of the waiter.
Sure. But I can see how it's not good against a really hyper-aggressive deck like Dan's. It was good in that one situation, but
When Dan Jordan mostly is spending time turning his guys sideways.
White. You were like probably like blue white glorious charge, 2 drops.
So here we go. Cedric definitely will be wanting to be on the play.
yep.
Yeah, so Dan, how many Searing Spears does he have? There's just the one? There's 1 Searing
Wow.
Spear. Was there anything else he could have drawn to
An arms dealer.
The arms dealer. Okay, so he had a couple outs in the Searing Spear. Now arms dealer. Looks like that's about it.
Yep. That was a lucky top deck.
Yeah, I still feel like the turn where Cedric lost his Sentinel Spider was kind of weird there. He could have taken 1 more from the Arsonist and blocked it at a later time if he wanted.
Come on, Dan, we need this for the stream.
Yeah,
Because he ended up losing this
Don't you
Sentinel
care?
Spider.
Interesting. I'm not exactly sure how the game would have played out if Cedric had made that other play, but
That's
definitely
mad, though.
interesting to think about.
Like what pick?
I'm sure Cedric's thinking about it right now.
I can reason that if like your deck is already hyper aggressive like this. Wish I had this thing.
Players getting shuffled up and ready for game 2 here of the tournament deciding, at least tournament life deciding match.
Yeah, after this match, we're going to take a little break while they draft. We'll get that and then come back with the top 8, bring you each round of the top 8. Now, a couple players were locked in, and Jason Ford was able to draw in. Did you remember who else was
Shoti
able to draw?
Asoka thinks he can draw in. Robert Victory, he's in top 8. Alexander Nunez looks like he's in top 8. Brian DeMars are locked. Juza still alive. Brandon Nelson still alive.
All right. And we're going to look at opening hands for both players here. Cedric with Titanic Growth.
Looks like he's going to have to
Plants,
mulligan.
and No
Only
action.
1 land.
No, I'm serious.
Is this going to be the end of Cedric's tournament? Is this how it's going to end? Wow, Dan Jordan also mulligans, both going down to 6.
Dan Jordan's hand was the all-red card swamp hand. Cedric was just limited on lands, period.
Yeah, just had 1 forest.
You can't do me dirty like that.
I
Not for the world to see.
I wanted to.
Both players falling to 6 cards. Whose deck do you think that favors, Ray?
I would say Cedric's deck's a little favored now that they mulligan. Dan really needs, with all these small creatures, it really hurts him a lot more to be if he has to trade off early and then being short on cards. Where
Sure.
Cedric will eventually could just stick 1 bigger guy. And
Yeah, like Sentinel Spider seems awesome against
yeah,
Dan's deck.
Sentinel Spider, Prized Elephant. 2 cards are just really great against Dan's deck. The Guardian is going to be great against
Yeah.
Dan's deck.
Guardians of Akrasa, the 0-4 Exalted Defender.
Just like Flunkies, Crimson, Arsonist, Mountains. Some other card I don't even remember because it doesn't matter.
This would be, if Cedric Phillips were to top 8 it, this would be his 2nd limited Grand Prix top 8. And in the span of something like 7 or 8 years, his last limited Grand Prix top 8 was at Mirrodin Block. I believe it was Grand Prix Detroit, I want to say. Detroit or Columbus, somewhere in the Midwest.
And you can taste it right now. He's very close.
Yeah. Both players drawing their 6-card hands.
I'm there with you.
Let's see.
Dan couldn't make out anything, but Cedric has a couple more lands this time around. He'll start off Goblin Arsonist for Cedric. For Dan, and Elvish Visionaries for Cedric.
Dan will play a mountain and pass the turn back. No reason to get that Goblin Arsonist in.
And none of his 4 Mug Funkies coming out.
Wow, Guardians of Akrasa will come down. Elvish Visionary will attack in for 1.
2.
Guardian
will exalted it up.
Dan will go to 18. Crippling Blight in Dan's hand. Do you think he's going to just use that right now on Guardians of Akrasa? No. He's going to...
He's going to play the Reckless Brute, one of his 4 Reckless Brutes.
That will drop Cedric down to 19, the 1 damage from the Goblin Arsonist.
Prize Elephant drawn for Cedric, so an ideal card there.
Looks like Dan might not have any black mana in his hand.
He has a Divine Verdict in his hand, Cedric that is, as well. Yeah, Cedric's hand looks really great for Dan's deck right now.
An Aven Squire, Divine Verdict. The Prized Elephant. And I think, is it a Spike Bailoff? Well, Cedric will play his 4th land. Cast, Yeva's Force Mage. Elvish Visionary will get in for 4.
That would be, 4 damage.
Dan will drop to 14 life, and Cedric passes the turn back. Now, if Dan has a Swamp, he's got that Crippling Blight in hand that could take out the Guardian of Akrasa's ability to block, but instead he'll just attack with a Reckless Brute. Cedric blocks the Guardians of Akrasa. Ooh.
The Kindle Fury
takes out the Guardians of Akrasa for Dan Jordan.
One of 2 Kindle Furies. Those are going to be really useful for Dan in this matchup, considering the number of 4-power creatures that Cedric has.
Does Cedric want to get in with Yeva's Force Mage here? Can be blocked and traded with by the Goblin Arsonist.
Yeah, may be comfortable with that. And they'll do that trade. Cedric's perfectly fine with that.
Aven Squire comes down for Cedric.
Reckless Brute probably going to get eaten up by, or traded with Elvish Visionary.
You sure there's a Prized Unicorn in Cedric's hand? I think it's...
there's a Divine Verdict, and I thought there was another card that looked like a Prized Elephant.
Oblivion Ring. But
oh, could be the Oblivion Ring.
Wow.
Another Kindled Fury for Dan Jordan will make it so Cedric Phillips' block of the Elvish Visionary is not effective against the Reckless Brute. Another, is it a Yeva's Force Mage? Yep. Will allow Cedric to attack in with his Aven Square for 4. That'll drop Dan Jordan down to 10 life. A second Reckless Brute for Dan Jordan. Cedric's not going to block with his Yeva's Force Mage. I wonder why. Oh, he will. Okay.
Changes his mind.
So that'll be 3 damage. Cedric will fall to 16 life. Dan passes back. Still no access to black mana on Dan's side.
Titanic Growth drawn over there.
2 for Cedric. Drop Dan to 8 life, and Cedric passes the turn back, holding Divine Verdict up.
Well, he draws a Swamp, so we'll be able to Crippling Blight the Aven Squire.
You heard that, right?
Cedric was disappointed with that.
5th land for Cedric. No play for Dan. Playing off the top. Sentinel Spider. Magma Quake off the top for Dan Jordan.
A little back and forth. If he gets a 6 land, Vastward Gorger. There you go. Cedric's hoping for the best. A Regenerator.
Oblivion Ring on the Muck Waiter. Cedric attacks in and Titanic Growth. They even things up at 1 game apiece. And look at that crowd watching Cedric. He's putting on quite the show. Max McCall on the sideline laughing his head off.
Lots of back and forth, and Cedric able to take that game down with a Titanic Growth, and we're going to have a game 3.
Deciding game 3.
For the top 8.
Really?
I can hear Cedric screaming all the way from over here in the booth. I'm sure you guys can hear him screaming on your stream. We don't get that audio over here, but...
Yeah, it's a wild match over there. But Dan and both games so far have been great. Dan was able to steal last game away with a Searing Spear off the top after Cedric had a prey upon off the top to prevent the Blood Hunter bat from killing him. And then Cedric and Dan were going back and forth. The last few turns there, the last few turns took less than a minute, but it was a couple turns back and forth with Cedric able to squeeze in, going past the Muck Waiter and attack with his Vassar Gorger with a Titanic Growth to overkill Dan right there. Now, in the booth right now is myself, Ray Punzlan, and Ben Swartz. We're here at Grand Prix Boston for those just joining us, and we're going to get a Game 3. I don't know what kind of changes Dan's going to make now.
Is he boarding in a Torch Fiend?
The Torch Fiend? So what did he see from Cedric? I'm trying to recall.
I don't think he saw any artifacts. But maybe he just wants an aggressive 2-drop.
He does have a lot of Mog Flunkies. Yeah, I'm not sure what Cedric has there, but this if you guys are if you know any of your friends not watching the stream right now, you should let them know. Tweet them, let them know to watch it. It's a great matchup between Cedric Phillips and Dan Jordan.
That's the worst thing you've ever said.
Both of them, both exciting games. Probably the most exciting games of the weekend, at one of the most exciting points of the tournament, on the bubble.
Yep, the last round winner makes it into the top 8. Losers left at home with maybe just a top 16 finish. A really active match from these two great players here at Grand Prix Boston Worcester.
Yeah, now Dan will be on the play this time around.
And that's a lot better for his really aggressive black-red deck.
We saw Cedric's Guardians what are they called? Of Akrasa, able to block off the Reckless Brutes, but Dan was able to draw both of his Kindle Furies, fight through some of the defenses of Cedric, but Cedric still was able to pull through at the end.
Let's see how this final game goes between Cedric Phillips and Dan Jordan. People who believe they're already in the top 8 include Alex Lloyd, Robert Victory, and Brian DeMars. Also, perhaps Jason Ford, Tom Holtzinger, Shota Yasuoka. The winner of this match, maybe Martin Juza from the Czech Republic. I can't quite see if how he finished his match. Maybe Brandon Nelson, who's still playing his match down on table 4, I can see. Okay, looks like the players are about ready to start the deciding Game 3 here, round 16 at Grand Prix Boston Worcester.
Cedric looks like pumping himself up.
Okay, here we go.
I actually mean the GLs when I say them.
Players draw their opening hand.
It's a gamble, let's do it. It is.
Looks like they'll both keep, and turn 1 Goblin Arsonist starts things off for Dan Jordan. Turn 1 Arbor Elf for Cedric Phillips.
How could you?
Oh,
Crippling Blight takes out the Arbor Elf, and that might not be good for Cedric. He might have kept a
landlight hand?
Yeah. Goblin Arsonist gets in for 1. Or perhaps Cedric's just completely bluffing Dan Jordan. Ooh. Planes off the top.
God, Magic's awesome.
Did you know they were in color?
He has a knight.
An Aven Squire. Looks like he'll cast the Aven Squire. Arsonist will get in. Cedric goes to 18. Cedric, I think, is playing it up a little bit. I see a couple other lands in his hand.
There's a Muck Waiter.
If it's getting in you want.
There'll be a Knight of Glory and a Rancor on the Aven Squire. That will attack him for 3, 4, 5 damage. Dropping Dan Jordan to 15, putting him on a quick 3-turn clock. Let's see what Dan Jordan draws for his turn. Looks like a Swamp.
Both the players playing. Finally slowing down.
Yeah, I mean,
they were
this
playing
is very,
pretty
very
quickly.
important Game 3.
Get me home.
They finally slowed down. It was a little quick from the start, but now Dan has to be careful.
Yeah, even though they're both playing aggressive decks, you can't, just because you're playing an aggressive deck, you can't play quickly, physically quickly. You have to at least take some time and make your decisions. Looks like that's what these players are doing right now.
I think he was also just going in the style that Cedric was playing. Cedric was
dictating.
Yeah,
how the
going pretty quick, getting really friendly there, and finally Dan's like, all right, got to focus. Can't fall into this trap and make any mistakes. This is for the top 8. Cedric hands contained a Deadly Recluse.
And a Vastwood Gorger, but still a couple turns off from casting
I kind of want to know the early game banter. Did Cedric bait Dan into killing the Arbor Oak,
maybe.
right?
Instead of the Aven Square or the Knight? That would have been an insane little bluff there. Fourth land would be a Dusk Hunter Bats for Dan Jordan. That's okay. I mean, the Aven Square can get through that Dusk Hunter Bats when it is attacking because of Exalted. Looks like a Titanic Growth was drawn for Cedric Phillips. Ooh, Prey Upon is going to take out the Dusk Hunter Bats because of the Pro Black on Knight of Glory. Dusk Hunter Bats will deal no damage to it, and another 5 from Cedric Phillips will drop Dan to, I believe it's 5. He should be at 12 life, right?
Yeah,
because the Blood Hunter Bats gain Dan 2. Deadly Recluse comes down for Cedric, and Cedric is stuck on 3 lands.
Do you think Cedric might block the Muck Waiter here so that Dan has to use lands? Tie up his mana just to regenerate?
I'm not sure. I mean,
Look,
he's thinking about it. Yep, that's what he ends up doing. Dan's going to go ahead and pay to regenerate.
can't add to his board here.
And I believe Cedric's got a Titanic Growth in hand, so next turn, Dan is dead on board. But little does Dan know that.
Let's see what happens here. So Dan's at 7. Cedric, his heart is beating out his chest.
Sure.
I could see it, actually. Something is beating out of his chest right now.
Cedric just passes the turn back, holding up that Titanic Growth. Doesn't want a crippling, or doesn't want that Goblin Arsonist to die and perhaps take out that Aven Square, which is going to lead him to victory. Maybe a Magma Quake would not do it because it only deals damage to creatures without flying. But Dan Jordan, considering his attacks, figuring out what he can possibly beat here.
There is one out that if Dan has the Magma Quake in his hand, he can.
Right, but then Cedric can use the Titanic Growth to save his Aven Square. If Dan Jordan Magma Quakes for one, it will take out the Goblin Arsonist and the Knight of Glory, and Goblin Arsonist can ping the Aven Square, but the Titanic Growth will allow the Aven Square to live until Cedric's next turn.
All right, so we're looking tie up mana again. So Cedric's going to see if he could convince Dan to tie up mana. He knows that's going to limit the kind of plays he'll be able to do.
I think I see that Magma Quake in Dan's hand.
All right, this is a really intense part of the
Yeah, really important turn here.
Yeah. And if Cedric, if he doesn't regenerate, it's just obvious what Dan has in his hands.
Yeah.
And all Cedric has to do is wait for the trigger on Exalted to resolve.
Oh, Furnace Whelp.
Furnace Whelp, all right.
So Cedric's 1 point of damage short. If that Knight of Glory were still in play, Cedric would be able to trample over with his Aven Square over the Furnace Whelp. But instead, he's going to still attack. Furnace Whelp might block. Nope, he's just going to Titanic Growth and leave Dan Jordan at 1 life. Arsonist is going to get in, dropping Cedric down to 9. Does Dan have an answer? Magma Quake, I think, is the answer.
Ooh, Magma Quake. There's a Magma Quake. Cedric gets his Rancor back. And the board is empty now. There's an Oblivion Ring for Cedric. He's going to play the Elvish Visionary, probably throw on the Rancor on him.
Yep. Does Dan have something?
Cedric has an Oblivion Ring. He's very close to victory here. What can he do?
Reckless Brute, post-combat, along with Torch Fiend. That doesn't do it, right?
Yeah, that's not enough. Cedric has 3 power, 2 toughness. Tramples over. Oh, then gets an additional power from here. I think Cedric is going to make his top 8.
1, 2.
And that's the match. Cedric Phillips is in top 8 of Grand Prix Boston Worcester. Wins the match 2 games to 1. Wow, what a match that was.
Look how he was happy in between games. Now he just looks absolutely relieved.
Yeah.
That
me on the edge of my seat.
Oh wow, that was a great match. Dan Jordan had to pull little interesting plays there in order to stay alive. He Magma Quake on his turn to prevent any pump spells.